to another Awkward 2112 Reviews gaming video. Slightly different location. Largely been moved around the house, don't want to sit in front of the computer. Thought today I'd have a look at a beautiful book, game called Fragged Empire. This is from a company called Design Ministries, a guy called Wade Dyer designed it. There are a couple of other versions of this. You've got Fragged Eternum and Fragged Seas. I think there's a fourth one as well. They always use the same core system for them. And if I'm going to give it a capsule review, this is a sci-fi Memorpica turned into a role-playing game. And it's pretty damn good. And it has one sole flaw that stopped me from playing into it. So what you have is that we've got a great big super chunky 380 page full colour hardcover book, and the production is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I was trying to find this book for absolutely ages. Amazon was offering German versions for like 50-60 quid or whatever, and then it's available through Modifius, through their UK web store, which I believe has started shipping limited quantities again, so that's fairly good. I think it's about 40-45 quid, so it's not a cheap book, but it's a chunky book, so it's well worth it money wise. And even if you're going to get it just to go onto your shelf, yeah, definitely like it. Blurb on the back: betrayed by your creators, you are a genetically engineered remnant emerging from the ruin of a genocidal war. The Fragged Empire core book has everything you need to play or run a science fiction tabletop role-playing game in the Fragged Empire setting. It contains rules for playing and creating player and non-player characters, equipment and spaceships. There are rules for personal and space combat, as well as trade and research, included as a full setting guide with sample NPCs and a GM's guide. The worlds of a distant post-post-apocalyptic future await. It'll be interesting to see. The back of the book has got just like a whole series of icons. And one thing that they do a lot throughout the book is just kind of use very simple icon-driven like menus and reference tables and whatever. And that's where I get this Memorpica feel for it, because it's saying the highlights of this: 4 playable races, then it gives us names and each one has an icon. Setting rules, non-setting specific, tactical miniatures, long sandbox games, non-linear progressive, customizable equipment. I think I did quite like about this game, as from a GM who's a prospective player, ain't never going to happen, but you know how that goes, the equipment list is sort of fairly generic, and you kind of buy customizations for them, and the item purchasing and loot system, it calls it a loot system, Memorpica, straight up. You've got like a fairly generic trade goods system, and you're limited by what you can carry and own, and it's got a very flexible mechanic. It's quite endearing. I'm going to do a dice and bolts of it a little bit later, but the core dice system is 3d6, and it is literally just d6s that you're using for the game. Keeps it nice and simple and straightforward. It's roll high. 6s give you what they call strong hits, which is where you can kind of trigger and buy critical effects based on what you're doing with the roll, and take it from that one there. The artwork, the text is laid out sort of quite flipped. If I flip to a bit which is more sort of text heavy, is, if we can see that there, we've got a decent amount of text per page. It's liberally scattered with some gorgeous sort of Cyberpunk 2049, Blade Runner 2049 style artwork. We've got 3 sort of fairly distinct races. You've got the Corp, who are like genetically engineered humans, Calterans, who are like 4-eared space elves, and then there are the Legion, who are your kind of genetically engineered warriors, and the Nephilim, who are the kind of the rebel remnants of the big bad that this war was fought against. It's a post-apocalyptic setting, so you've had humanity rises, then crashes, then comes up again, then crashes again, and you're just sort of there. And you've got a lot of options for what you want to do. So you could be a bunch of mercenaries, you could be a bunch of free traders, You could be a bunch of explorers. You could be wanting to build something a little bit better. So you get a bit of vibe of Faith, sci-fi RPG from Burning Games. Elements of that. I had Faith before I had this, although this one I think is a little bit of an older game. Get a little bit of a vibe of Firefly, a little bit of Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, possibly in there, a little bit of Blade Runner, this sort of sci-fi aspect and off-world colonies, and a lot of those things there. But like I say, it's a space Mamorpaga in a tabletop role-playing game. You've got tactical miniatures rules, which are sort of fairly well-rounded, but you can skip past them a lot. Cover's quite important in combat, as it is in any firefight-based game. The benefits of chest-high walls scattered around your insides of your spaceship can't be overstressed. Like I said, it's got that a load of nice little systems sort of here and there kind of built into it that you could reach in. You could say, well, actually, I could take that system and then adapt it for something else, because a lot of the sort of systems behind them, because the dice rolling that's built into the game is quite easy, you could pick the system out, strip the dice rolling off it, put a different dice rolling system on and put it back into any other kind of game. Mentioned earlier the one flaw with it. Now it's not is it a flaw? Yes and no. The one thing that stopped me from digging into it a little bit further, my eyes aren't the best of things, and on the character sheets there is some very, very small boxes, tick boxes, and for like putting in descriptions of things, and I tend to used to get most of my reading time later on in the evening, and I just can't focus on them. It's a 2-page character sheet that you have, and it possibly could be done with stretched up to 3, but 3 pages is a lot, especially when I'm kind of boiling down to Iron Sworn at the moment, which is 1 page, and then you've got a lot of space for notes on it, and Dungeon World, which is 2 pages, and that's it. Let's say I list it as a flaw. I'm not sure it actually is a flaw. I think it's possibly just my eyes on that one there. But yeah, Fragged Empire. Good. I'm going to give it another read through. Now I've got a bit more time to read during the day, because, like I say, I love the design and the feel, and I like sort of post-apocalyptic games, normally in the fantasy side of things. So as and when things may come up, the fantasy version of this, I think, is called Fragged Eternum. Again, definitely looks like a sci-fi. And this Fragged Seas is like a Pirates of the Caribbean, fantastic navy. Yeah, not my bag, but the Fragged Eternum, might pick that one up as well to add next to it. That one there. Check it out at, I think their website is fraggedempire.com, but you can also get a load of stuff, and there's PDFs. So I think there's a quick start as well on modifius.net. Tell some good stories, and I will see you around.